The idea of my research is to tell you about national identities. Of course, I mean, it's a huge project. It will not last almost 4 weeks. It takes a lifetime to understand the identity of a people. In this case, I will try to make two, so it's quite impossible. So the idea is to choose one aspect of the identity of a people. There are several possibilities. You have food, you have religion, you have history, you have language. But I choose specifically public holidays, celebrations. And according to that, I will try to compare both of them. Of course, I think the main question will be, is this possible? Because, between Argentina and Thailand, I would say in general, South America and Southeast Asia, there are almost nothing in common. This is like just very few differences. Argentina is a republic, Thailand is a kingdom. Argentina's main religion is Christianity, and among Christianity is Catholicism. In the case of Thailand, it's Buddhist, specifically from Theravada. Also, in Argentina, we have cattle raising livestock tradition. You will probably know about the gaucho culture. But Thailand has a rice tradition, rice cultivating tradition. So it's quite different. Language. In Argentina, we speak Spanish. We have an alphabet script. Here in Thailand, of course, we speak Thai, and they have a lot of influence from Pali and Sanskrit, not to mention other type of languages. So this is just a small glimpse of the differences between the two countries. Nevertheless, I think even though the differences we have, it's possible to understand each other. And why is this? Because we share, along our history, we share some same experiences. Even though we are far away, and we have almost 15,000 kilometers from one country to another, we experience some particular process almost at the same time. And owing to the process, how we respond to these processes, we share some common experiences. I'll just make a few dates, in general, for you to have an idea. In Argentina, from the late 18th century and from the early 19th century, we passed from a moment where we were a colony from the Spanish Empire, Argentina. Back then we were called the Viceroyalty of the Rio de la Plata. But in the year 1810, we have a revolution, what we call the May Revolution. And 6 years later, we have our independence. More or less, it is at the same time that here in Thailand we are taking some particular events. We have, the fall of the kingdom of Ayutthaya. Thank you. We have the fall of the kingdom of Ayutthaya. We have the initiative taken by King Tachin, and finally the actions taken by what we later is going to get known as Rama I. We know that during the reign of Rama I was from 1782 to almost 1810, the same year as our May Revolution. The basic structures, the basic characteristics of our states were set. Then another possible comparison will be that all along, but mainly since the mid-19th century, both countries share the threat from the Western powers. I think that one of the most important events in Thai history will be, in the year 1893, when the French advanced along the river and fled to Bangkok. We have a similar experience in Argentina. Between the years 1840 and 1845, we have an Anglo-French blockade of the Rio de la Plata. We were almost in the same situation. Foreign powers were almost threatening us with their cannons, ships, cutting out our main access to the weather rivers. And this, of course, has a great impact of the importance of freedom and our national sovereignty. Another process would be immigration. Of course, Thailand, the whole Thailand history, one of the main characteristics will be the influx of other people. We have, Chinese, we have Malay, we have Indian. In Argentina, we have the same. But specifically, it's in the late 19th century that this immigration influx was so big, so important, that it started to appear as a threat to national identity. In the case of Thailand, there were so many Chinese coming to Thai territory, living in Thai territory, that was threatening to understand what is Thai. In the case of Argentina, we have the Spanish and specifically the Italian immigrants. Just to give you a fact, back then, the population of Buenos Aires, our capital city, half of the population were Italians, and almost 2/3 were immigrants. Also, this same thing appears as a threat to our national identity. How we can create a national identity where, in general, we have these huge cultures, huge people affecting us. And finally, another date. It's in the early decades of the 1930s. Here in Thailand, in the year 1932, we have a coup d'etat, civil coup d'etat, that marked the end of absolute monarchy. But in Argentina, we have in the year 1930 another coup d'etat. In this case, was a military coup d'etat that marked not the end, but marked, well, in our case, the beginning of a tragic history of military coup d'etats that affects our democracy. So I think, here at first, as you can see, even though we have many differences, we share some experiences. And almost at the same time, I just say, okay, according to this, how we respond to this, and how, specifically by segregations. First of all, I choose a couple of authors, about to base my theory. In this case, I grabbed these two statements by a husband's very renowned English historian, that he said, I will just like a small summary about Britain, that for the nation, for nationalism, for the national development process, the invasion of traditions is quite an important issue. That even though it appears, the traditions may appear old, ancient, they are quite new because they respond to a quite new situation. And why is this? These are the functions, the basic functions like a tradition and an invented tradition fulfills. First of all, establish political legitimation. The Chakra dynasty presents itself as the successor of Ashutaya kingdom, and it took some of their celebrations, some of their holidays, as a way to legitimize their position. Of course, traditions have to consolidate relations of powers, because someone has to create this tradition, and I want to say this. To invent, to create this tradition, that doesn't mean it's alive, it's sufficient. It actually appeals to some inner essence in ourselves, as individuals and as a people. Creation means creativity, means appeals also at the same time to our group deep essence. Okay, relations of power. The tradition has to establish the rulers from the one who are dominated. Of course, if people believe in the tradition, loyalty can be generated, and people could be mobilized. Usually, it happens in wars. That's the basic example. Usually, soldiers go to a war believing they are fighting for and defending their country. But also, traditions have to establish new ways of socialization. New ways of relating one to each other. It also helps to identify or to differentiate ourselves from others. For instance, I'm a Christian, I celebrate Christmas Eve. Of course, I will acknowledge my partner to that person who also celebrates Christmas. And I will make a difference. For instance, I will just make an example for Muslim who doesn't celebrate it. It's just a fact. That helps to identify with someone and differentiate with others. And finally, traditions, as I already mentioned, they are rooted in our past, they are rooted in our experience, can generate emotions. And also they transmit values and code of behavior. How we should behave in this situation, how we should behave in other situation. This is why traditions, holidays in this case, are important. It's not only a moment, okay, we have a free day, we have a spare time, we can rest. They also help us to be what we are. They give us an identity, they give us a history, they give us an opportunity to feel what is to be part, in this case, of a people, of a country, of a nation. So having this in mind, I try to compare Thailand to Argentina. Having this contemporary history we have together in the 19th and early 20th centuries, and having this concept of invented tradition, I try to compare both countries, of how the invented tradition were created, how they were set, how they were used to move, to create feelings and values of the Thai people and the Argentinian people, and at the same time, how they were responding to a particular historical moment. I will start, in this case, with Thailand, and then I will continue with Argentina. Okay, first of all, we have several types of traditions. We have religious traditions, we have civic traditions, we have popular traditions, and even though we can distinguish them as a concept, in daily life and reality they are all mixed. In Thailand, there are a lot of holidays, traditional holidays, local holidays, but I focus myself specifically, and I want to mention this again, in national holidays. It's a celebration that is acknowledged and respected all around the country, except for Argentina. Probably you can have a local holiday or local celebration in a small part, a small town, in a region, and it's quite respectful that. But that doesn't appeal, that doesn't make to the identity of the whole people. It only helps for the identity of that region, of that city. Which are the main national religious holidays here in Thailand? One of them is Vassa Day. The day of the birth, enlightenment, and death of Buddha. It's one, not only in Thailand, but in general in Asia, China, Korea, Japan, China, Laos, Myanmar, almost in all the Buddhist countries. It's the most important holiday celebration in the Buddhist world. It commemorates, of course, the enlightenment and the death of the founder of Buddhism. We don't have a date specifically when this holiday was set. I want to stress that because then I will make a difference with other type of holidays. But we can say it's part of the people. It's part of the identity of the people. We cannot separate, we cannot distinguish Thai people without Buddhism. Buddhism is part of Thai people as Christianity is part of Argentinian people. The other important celebration, it will be Asaha Buddha Day. This is the date that commemorates the first discourse of Buddha, where he expressed his main teachings, the basic knowledge that he attained when he came to enlightenment. In this case, I mean the holiday is the full moon of the 8th lunar month here in Thailand. And I mean, as in the case of Vassa Day, the main idea of commemoration is the Buddha as a person. In this celebration, Asaha Buddha Day, it will be Dhamma, the knowledge, the law, is what we try to commemorate, and we try to remember, and we try to keep in mind, and we try to think about it. I mean, because of course this is a celebration, but how a celebration develops. I mean, we attend to temples, we have special services, we ask to have special actions of ourselves toward monks, to other people. And finally, I try to recover this one, Mahabuha Day. In this case, it commemorates the discourse given by Buddha to a gathering of hearts that took place in the Levana monastery in India. According to tradition, this is an example of the main expression, of the first main expression of Sangha, of the community, of the monk community, of the monk order. And this is in the Buddhist tradition. According to the Buddhist calendar, this falls, I mean, the moon of the third lunar lunar month. But what is quite interesting in this case, that in comparison to Vaisak Day and to Asaha Day, we have, or at least I found an information that the celebration of this day was instituted by King Rama IV. In a book that King Chulalongkorn wrote about the history and the knowledge of his kingdom, he mentioned that this celebration was not celebrated before the reign of his father. So we have a date. And I will just make a little comment on this. We have Vassa. I mean, the Vassa is, of course, you already know, is the 3 months retreat during the rainy season. Specifically, the first day of this period is a holiday. The rest is just 3 months where we try to improve ourselves and we make some specific actions of penitence and asceticism. Not only the monks, but also layers, common people. And in this, I just mention at the end. Sometimes it may be later or not, but it usually falls almost at the same time at the end of Vassa, that it's Kathin. And usually the giving of gifts, robes, food, and other kind of offering to the monks in thankfulness of their well-doing. But specifically there is the royal Kathin. Usually we have, I found barges. It's quite an astonishment because, I mean, usually the kings, I mean, it's an old tradition. It dates back to the Thai-Argentinean, but it was recovered by the Chapter dynasty case. We have facts that King Ramoneda I created the barge, and the other barges created by King Ramoneda IV, Ramoneda V, and Ramoneda VI. Basically, I mean, the holiday is based on the action of the king presenting robes to the monks in Wataru, in the temple of the Dawn. It's usually celebrated in mid-October. So far, well, why all these traditions are important? As I mentioned before, it expresses the importance of Buddhism for the Thai people. It teaches them values. to being thankful to the monks for what they're doing, for merit making, for prayers, and trying to be good with each other. Offerings in gifts and what, not only to the monks but to our elders, taking care of them. But also at the same time, it helps for the kings, or better say, for the institution of kingship or monarchy to present themselves to the people. In this case, the kings were, it's clearly expressed in the royal Kathins of the region. The kings were the ones who were doing a very action activity for the people. And of course, it was historically the first kings, Ramon I and specifically Ramon IV, they make a huge reformation for Buddhism here in Thailand. So they were quite involved not only with the celebration, but they were always involved with the situation of the Buddhist monastic order. They also helped to improve the knowledge of Buddhism. They quite correct some books. They quite correct the calendar. So across these celebrations and the influence that they have in them, kingship is related to it. So we're starting to get to the idea that, the best talent that King Rama VI can, that talent is by the king, the monarchy, the nation, the people, the religion. They will start creating, molding, becoming to be since the very beginning of the Chinese dynasty. Probably Rama I didn't thought about in nationalistic terms, but his actions helps several years ago to create a national identity. Sometimes this is more or less a traditional. Of course, there are religious elements in it, but it's more a traditional celebration. It's the beginning, it's the New Year, the traditional New Year here in Thailand. It usually falls between, according to the lunar calendar, between the 13th and 15th of April. But later the date was changed to the year 1888 by King Chulalongkorn. He changed the date to April the 1st. And it was much later in the decade of 1940 that it stopped being the official New Year date, and the official date started to be the 1st of January. Here again, it's an expression of the Thai people, of their values, of their relations, how they, is quite particular. We can appreciate in the photograph, of course, most of you will know about the water games, play with each other, but also all the cleansing and purification of water means. Purification, in the case of the temples, purifying the statues, offering sprinkled water to other elders in a way of acknowledging their importance to us and also helping them to feel better. We have a similar tradition in Argentina. We'll talk about it later. That's why I want to mention also something. And now, we talk about religious activities, we talk about popular, traditional, but when we have civic celebrations. And one of the characteristics of the civic celebrations is that we know dates. We know the dates where they were instituted. So if we know the date, we can understand the context of their institution and what they were looking for. The first case I talk about is Chulalongkorn Day, our great beloved King Day. It commemorates the reign of Chulalongkorn, marked by the anniversary of his death, October 23rd of the year 1910, sorry. But for instance, we know that the celebration was established by King Rama VI in the year 1912. Back then, he instituted a type of action that he went to pay respect to King, his father, to King Chulalongkorn, to the question statue he had in the royal I forgot. The idea is that he presents flowers to the king, pay him no respect. But what was also interesting about the silk celebration is that public could participate in it. Individually, each person could go and can go and actually goes to the statue. Usually, specifically during this date of 2023, but it's usually a common procedure. That they goes and they pay their homage, they pay respect indirectly to the king, to the statue of the king. This is quite a difference to the religious traditions, where usually, in that case, are the monks who helps to create and we pay respect to the monks, or the involvement of the king is far away, even though the people is benefit, but it's far away and it's distant from the people itself. In the Sikh traditions, in the Sikh celebrations, people actually participate in a direct, personal way. This is another main distinction between religious and civic celebrations. This is just a picture for you. I mean, all the flower arrangements they present to the statue of King Chulalongkorn. The other day will be Chakri Day. It commemorates, the founding of the Chakri dynasty in April 6th of the year 1782. This marked the ascent to the throne of King Ramoneda I. But then again, it was established by King Ramoneda VI in the year 1918, almost more or less 130 years after the founding of the dynasty. It was the same day he inaugurated the palace of the divine ancestors, and this place where you can find, well, this is what I found out, I haven't been there yet, and where you can find, all the statues of the other kings of the Chakri dynasty. Also, an idea to create a celebration where people could pay their respect and homage to all the kings. Chulalongkorn Day is specifically for King Chulalongkorn, for his importance in Thai history. Chakri Day is for the importance of the Chakri dynasty, for all the kings of the Chakri dynasty, including King Chulalongkorn. This is the case of the prince paying respect to the statue of King Ramoneda I in the Memorial Bridge. This celebration, even though Chakri Day was established in the year 1980, the celebration of presenting homage to the statue of King Ramoneda I was established in the year 1930, with the opening 1932, with the creation of the Memorial Bridge, and the celebration of the 150th anniversary of Bangkok. Which is quite new celebration.